Welcome back, guys. Another vlog, NVM2. As you probably know, if you follow this journey, we've done quite a few updates on this vehicle, and we've done the suspension, the exhaust, intake, intercooler, and the mapping. Mapping, we kind of stopped at on the stage 2 at 427 brake horsepower and 650 newton meters. It's actually done 100 to 200 kilometers an hour in 8.5, which is kind of like record breaking in all honesty. We don't know of another M2 that's done it quicker than that, or substantially quicker than that, without additional turbo or fueling. So looking at the logs and the way we tune a stage 2, we do keep it within tolerances, but it can always do with a bit more. And the turbo itself maxes out about 450 to 460 brake horsepower, and beyond that it's kind of pointless winding any more boost in there. But what we can do is add a bit more timing, and that timing equates to more power. But the problem is the fueling on this, because it's maxed out on the high pressure fuel pump, every time it demands more boost pressure, dip in fuel pressure, because as you know, more boost requires more fuel. So what we're going to try to fill that gap with today is a Meth injection kit. Usually we fit Meth kits, the BMS Meth kit with a JB4 system. We're not going JB4 on this vehicle. We data log perfectly fine without it, and we've obviously done our own custom stage 2. The JB4 is still adequate for those who are warranty conscious and kind of concerned and plug and play. We're going for a standalone Meth injection system from Cooling Mist, their latest range, which is the CMGS 100 PSI. This gauge itself works as a boost gauge, in all honesty, so it's a benefit. We don't need an additional gauge in there, but it controls the Meth via the solenoid. So this kit is actually a Berger Motorsport Cooling Mist Meth injection kit. So you get the 200 psi Meth pump, you get the gallon tank, you get the FSB, which is your fail-safe control module, the actual solenoid there with this one-way valve and filter. You get the nylon tubing, and obviously we've gone for CM7, or what it's known as a BM7 nozzle. We have run CM10s before on M235Is, 135Is, the N55 in general, but we found it causes such a spike sometimes that the 7 is more adequate, so that's what we're going to start with. Everything is dialed and controlled via this, via the minimum and the maximum. The minimum is the boost, is the Meth injected based upon boost coming in, and the max is the duty cycle maxed out on peak boost. So we'll probably start it at about 10 psi and finish at 17 where it's at the max, to be fair. We'll kind of dial it in, put it on the dyno and see what's what. The installation is pretty straightforward. Again, like most, we're not going to do a full install video, but in all honesty, you can see basically how it is. In the boot, we're going to use a custom tank actually. That should sit, try and get it in focus. That should sit under the rear parcel shelf. It's not a parcel shelf, it's actually a speaker shelf, but yeah, we're going to mount it up there and the motor up there as well. It's a full aluminium tank, and it'll have a one-way check valve and a level indicator on the side. So that utilises the boot space really well and kind of allows us to use the boot floor without any concerns, or if you have anything loose in there causing any damage to any of the pipework. The standard pipework we obviously run through the side of the car, so we'll run it down from the back there, through the side quarter panel, underneath the sill plate, in through there, in through a grommet, through the front, and then mount the solenoid. Boost pipe has 2 ports, both 1/8 NPT. So one we're going to actually use for the boost tap off, so to measure the actual pressure in the charge pipe, and the other one we'll use for the Meth nozzle. So let's get it all stripped down and install it. basic install done. The solenoid's in, the boost line's on, and the Meth line's in into the engine bay. We run it through the scuttle panel, through the bulkhead, down the side, all the way down to the back, through the rear quarter. Just show you the front mounting. So we've run all the wires through and the vacuum line to the back of the glove box. So we're going to put the gauge in there for a bit of a stealth install, because we don't want it sticking out on the dash itself. So yeah, it's easy to access, easy to see, and easy to set up. So we'll go through the menus and show you what's what anyway. But yeah, we'll get the gauge wired up, get it all tested, and fit the rear tank, which we'll show you in a minute, and fit the rear pump, and then stick it on the dyno. Catch you in a bit. So this is our water Meth tank. It's a 10-litre tank, full aluminium construction. This is still prototype. Don't worry about the extra valves and stuff. The later production versions that will be available to buy with our cooling mist Meth injection kit will be in satin black or polished. It will have a check valve on the cap as well to reduce any kind of vacuum build-up, and the brackets will be slightly different to reduce any vibration on the rear parcel shelf or speaker shelf. So it's made for all the saloon and the coupe variants, BMW cars, and I'll show you exactly where it goes. I did show you earlier. You can either self-tap it, or what we've done is drilled in riv nuts, if you can see there, M6 riv nuts with a riv nut gun, so it's nice and secure when it's bolted up. And there's a nylon line to the Meth pump, which obviously goes to the front of the car. The actual tank itself is baffled as well internally. I'll try and show you. As you can see, there's baffling internally in 3 different sections. So as you turn corners on full boost, at quarter mile and stuff like that, you won't ever run the tank dry due to any kind of G-forces. And that's why we've designed this specifically, really. A, for kind of boot clearance, and B, down to its performance element, so ready for track and road, and obviously quarter mile centre pods and stuff like that. So we will be testing it furthermore before it goes out to production, but the testing that we've done so far and the dimensions that we've made seem to be adequate for what we need. It will come with all the hardware necessary as well, and part of the full kit, and you can buy it on its own as well. Furthermore to that, the actual kit comes with a 1-gallon tank from Cooling Mist, and this 1-gallon tank itself is probably the most common tank you've seen for a water Meth. So we've had a bracket made for it as well. These will be available to purchase if you didn't want the full aluminium tank, and they literally sit to the left of the boot floor, allowing full kind of access to the fill, and which was our major concern, because if we put the Meth tank anywhere like on the rear bench or on the side, it's very difficult to fill these tanks and not spill anything. And obviously Meth is not the best kind of substance to get everywhere. It does stain, and it's very corrosive as well, so kind of getting a clean fill is key. But yeah, that will be available to purchase as well. I'll just show you where the Meth tank fits. Again, we did drop it down a little to reduce any kind of vibrations from the speakers, but it literally sits there, and we'll bolt it up in a minute and show you exactly how it fits and where it fits. So that's a 10-litre Meth tank fitted. We've just used some spacers for this prototype here, but the actual production versions will come with the elongated brackets, and that's for clearance and kind of vibration-free mounting, because if we put the tank flush to the rear shelf when the speakers were bouncing, it would kind of vibrate off the shell. So we've kind of spaced it out, and the final production versions will be adapted accordingly. Again, as you can see, internally baffled, so it never runs dry on acceleration, and a full 10-litre setup, so you don't run empty too quick. We've actually got the nylon line, the 6mm or the quarter inch nylon tubing down to the pump on the side, which is typically where you fit majority of the pumps. This is good for kind of access to maintenance, if need be, adjustments and stuff like that. But I'll just show you the gauge up front. So that's the Meth controller right there. Quite simple to set up, in all honesty. You got your low boost setting. I'll just show you here. So that's when you want the meth to start spraying. So we'll set that first and foremost to about 11 psi, and set the maximum duty cycle, which is when it's at full spray, to about 21 psi. So that's there or thereabouts where we need it to be set up and start and end spraying with. We've just mocked up this foam board gauge holder, but we've got a full aluminium enclosure going in there soon. But let's bang it on the dyno and see what a difference it makes. So as you can see from the Dyno results, guys, 440 horsepower and 650 newton meters. Torque, although has risen slightly at peak, it's more mid-range that it's gained the most. At peak we've gained quite a lot of power just by adding a bit more timing. With the meth off, we did see a bit of timing pull, to be fair, so we've kind of balanced it as much as possible so that it isn't meth dependent as such, but it still makes benefit from the meth itself. So yeah, this is part of our package. Again, the tank itself, prototype version, seems to be working well, and the meth kit itself, the cooling mist meth kit, plumbed in and working flawlessly. The actual, I'll show you, the gauge itself as well. We did end up setting it to about 12 psi for full duty cycle. That's running the CM7, and we got it coming in roughly about 6 psi. So on full throttle, it is giving maximum cooling and maximum octane effect itself. The actual solenoid itself, obviously mounted there to keep it nice and cool as well. So that's probably the most we're going to get out of the stock turbo. Top end is still past 6,000 RPM. We're still struggling to get hot exhaust gases out, so it's not something that we're going to push any further. We're running a 50-50 meth concentration at the moment. We might change that a little with a bit more water with this setup, but we will be going pure stage 2 turbos in the next couple of weeks, so keep an eye on the channel. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Something I forgot to add to the vlog itself was the actual data log, to show you exactly what we change and kind of the effects it has. We try and make it visual for you in graphical terms. So there's the fuel pressure itself, that's the target, that's the actual. So when you're running kind of this power level, this is what happens. You get fuel pressure dips, so where the actual fuel rail loses pressure due to the amount of injection quantity required. That's your timing scale, and that's your boost scale. We have actually reduced boost top end to kind of keep it all nice and healthy, but as you can see, we've added loads more timing. We've kept the fuel pressure as linear as possible based upon what we found today. Again, we didn't map this meth dependent, so it's not something that we're kind of saying you always got to run meth to run this power. We tried to get a balance with it, meth on and meth off, and I think it ran between 15 to 20 horsepower difference, and that was visually what it is. So fuel pressure fill is exactly what the meth does, and also cooling charge temperature, so we can run a bit more boost lower end and taper it off without any kind of concerns. So yeah, thought I'd add that into the vlog. So again, see you guys later.